Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a tutorial for the first time in forever on this bracelet right here. I have called this the dots and stripes chevron because it has some dots and some stripes and it's like a chevron. So this tutorial is kind of for beginners slash kind of more intermediate. You are going to know how to do all of the 4 different kinds of knots in order to make this. If you haven't never made a bracelet before, this video probably isn't really for you. But if you've made a couple bracelets before and you know all the different types of knots, then you should do this no problem. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get into the video. To make this bracelet, you are going to need 4 colors. 1 color to be your main like kind of background color that you use the most. So this color you should have a lot of. And then 3 other colors as kind of like an accent color. So for my main background color, I'm using white, and then for my accent colors, I'm using pink, yellow, and blue. I did just want to briefly mention the pattern for this bracelet if you're potentially going to be using the pattern to make this bracelet instead of rewatching this video. You will notice that the actual pattern has a lot of rows and is very long, but this video is not going to go over every single row. And the place that I start my bracelet is going to be different from the pattern because I am going to be segment knotting this bracelet. The knots are really similar to a chevron with a couple of, modifications. So I'm going to be doing a segment knot for this instead. Also, the reason why the pattern is so long is because the way that these normal patterns work on bracelet book is wherever your bracelet starts, wherever your bracelet ends literally has to be in the exact same spot. So at the bottom, our yellows are on the outside. On the top, our yellows are on the outside. All the strings are exactly where they're supposed to be. So you can exactly repeat this exact pattern over and over again. So in this row, the blue is the dots, the yellow is the stripe. And then when you go further, the yellow is the dots and the blue is the stripes. That's the only reason why it's so long, is because the colors switch around kind of in the bracelet, but you're still doing the same knots regardless. Doesn't matter what color you're doing. So if you're not going to use the pattern, you don't have to worry about this at all, but I just kind of want to clarify a little bit. If you are going to use the pattern and you're maybe wondering how my video correlates to the pattern, you can kind of figure that out a little bit. So the first step in this is going to be cutting our strings that we need for this bracelet. So I'm first going to focus on my main background color. And for this, we're going to need to cut 3 strings at a wingspan's length. So here's my 1 string at a wingspan's length. Now I have 2 strings at a wingspan's length. And finally 3 strings. For my 3rd string, I am going to cut it a little bit longer than the rest of them because I am going to be doing this teardrop loop. And in order to do that, I'm going to need some extra string to actually stitch this loop. If you don't know how to do this, I do have tons of videos on different ways you can start bracelets. I think the teardrop loop is definitely best for this one because it really fits the actual style of the bracelet and the chevron look. And I of course will have that video linked down below and in the cards on how to do the teardrop loop if you're interested. But for now, I'm gonna just cut my string a little bit longer. If you're not doing any sort of stitched loop at all, don't have to worry about this step. And then using my white strings as a guide, I'm going to cut 1 wingspan length string for each of my 3 colors. So I have my pink right here, and I'm gonna just measure this up to my white strings. That way all of my strings are exactly the same length. Okay, I switched yellows because the other one was really pale and you couldn't see it at all. So I have a different yellow, so I think this one's a little more easy to distinguish. So I'm gonna be measuring my yellow string. And then finally my blue. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and take all of my bundle of threads here and I'm going to go ahead and fold this whole thing in half. So at one end, the raw edges meet. I have this extra long string to do my stitched loop, and I'm just going to connect all of these. And then at the other end, it's going to have a nice little loop right there. From here, you can go ahead and start your bracelet however you please. If you're kind of more of a beginner, you can just leave a little loop at the top, tie a knot, and then just start the bracelet. But if you are a little bit more advanced, or maybe you want to give doing a new start a try, I recommend doing the teardrop loop. All right, so I just finished my teardrop loop right here, and I have my strings set up in the order they need to be in to do this pattern. So the string setup is going to be a mirror image. So I have it kind of split down the middle right here. And from left to right, it goes white, blue, white, yellow, white, pink, and then starting at this top part, white, blue, white, yellow, white, pink. So basically it's just going to be your 3 colors, and in between each color is going to be a white string. Only difference is whatever color you have in the middle is going to be the color for your diamond right here. So it looks like you'll probably see that color the most in your bracelet. So if you have a specific color that you want to be the diamond, you can change it like that. The pattern is really similar to how you make a normal chevron bracelet. So if you know how to make one of those, then this will be super easy for you. So for row number 1, it is going to be just a normal chevron row. So I'm going to basically set aside half of my strings and focus on one side first. And I'm going to start with my very outermost white string, and I'm going to be doing forward knots all the way down to start off my first normal chevron row. After doing my full row of forward knots, my white string went from being on the very outside to being in the middle of my bracelet. I'm going to set the rest of these strings off to the side and keep my white string here in the middle. And then I'm going to go over to the right side and I'm going to take my outermost white string and I'm going to do backward knots all the way down to complete my normal chevron row. Once I did my full row of backward knots, my white string went from being on the outside to being in the middle, and my 2 white strings are in the middle now, so I can just do whatever knot to connect these. I'm going to just do a forward knot just to join the 2 middles. Now we're going to go on to our second row. This row is going to be the dots row. So I'm going to start with my 2 outermost strings, which for me is my blue and my white string. First knot with these 2 strings is going to be a backward knot. My blue and white have switched places. I'm going to set my white string off to the side, and holding my blue string still, I'm going to pick up my next string, which is my yellow. And for this, I'm going to do a forward knot. Set my yellow string off to the side, still holding my blue string. I'm going to pick up my next string, which is going to be white. And with these 2, I'm going to do a backward knot. All right, and then I'm setting off my white string to the side, still holding my blue. Picking up my next string is going to be my pink, and I'm going to be doing a forward knot. Setting off my pink string, I'm still holding my blue string, it's still my leading string, grabbing my final string, and it's going to be my white, and with this I'm going to be doing a backward knot. So pretty much you are alternating backward and forward all the way down until you get to the middle, just like so, making sure it's backward, then forward, then backward, then forward, then backward. Setting all my other strings off to the side, and my blue string is going to be in the middle. Now we're going to go over to the right side again, and I'm going to take my 2 outermost strings, which are my blue and my white. I also want to explain another way to do these knots if you don't really think of it in terms of backward and forward. I personally don't think of my knots in terms of is it a backward knot or a forward knot or whatever. I think of it more of what color does my knot need to be. So in the pattern, the knot right here has to be white. So in order to do that, I'm going to get my white string first and cross that one over the blue and then do my knot like that. And then my next knot needs to be blue, so I'm going to take my blue string, and that blue string is going to be crossed over the next string in order to make the knot blue. So if that makes it a little bit easier for you to understand, then definitely do it like that. But I like to just do the technical terms because I feel like most people probably do it like that, because I feel like the whole like what color does it need to be is a little bit more of like an advanced thing to do with bracelets. So I'm gonna just keep doing it backward and forward, but I just want to explain the way that I personally do it, so maybe that might help you learn a little bit better. But my first knot, as you saw, was a forward, and then I just did a backward knot. And now for my next pair, I'm going to be doing a backward knot. Setting my white string off to the side. My blue string is still my leading string. I'm going to be taking my next string, which is pink, and with this pair, I'm going to be doing a backward knot. Setting my pink string off to this side. My blue string is still leading. I'm going to grab my next string, which is the last string, which is white, and with this, I am going to be doing a forward knot. Once we have done on both sides of our knots, our blue strings are going to both be in the middle here, and since they're the same color, you can do whatever knot you would like. Just to join these, I'm going to be doing a forward knot. And this will complete our dots row, so you can kind of see the whole point of it being like dots. It's like white, blue, white, blue, white, blue. So that's our dots row. So the next 4 rows in this pattern are going to all be normal chevron rows, just how you would make a normal chevron. So after I just did my dots row, my white thread is on the outside. So I'm going to just go all the way down, doing forward knots on the left side until I get to the middle. All right, I got to the middle on this side. I'm gonna go to the right side of my bracelet, and my white thread is on the outside, and I'm going to be doing backward knots all the way down until I get to the middle. And then once I reach the middle, I'm going to go ahead and join these two with a forward knot. That was row number 3. Row number 4 is going to be another normal chevron row. So I have my yellow thread on the outside. So I'm going to use my yellow to go all the way down on the left side of my bracelet, doing forward knots until I get to the middle. All right, I just reached the middle, so I'm gonna go to the right side of my bracelet, and I'm gonna be doing backward knots all the way down. Then I'm going to join my 2 colors in the middle. That was row 4. Moving on to row 5 is yet another normal chevron row. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think by now you get the gist. All right, I just finished row 5, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start row 6 now, which is yet again another normal chevron row, and this is our last normal chevron row. All right, I just finished row number 6. Now we're moving on to row number 7, and this row is going to be starting our diamond shape. So I'm going to start on the left side of my bracelet. I'm going to take my 2 outermost strings, which for me is white on the very outside and then blue as the second string. With this pair, I'm going to start by doing a forward knot. My blue string will be set aside, my white string is leading. Picking up my next string, which is white for me, I'm going to do another forward knot. Setting that string off to the side, picking up my next string, which is yellow. This knot is going to be another forward. And then I'm going to set my yellow string off to the side. My same white string is still leading. Thus far, it's like a normal chevron row. Next string is white. We're going to do another forward knot for this. So we've just done 4 forward knots in a row, and my white string is still leading. Picking up my final string, which is going to be in the middle here. I have my pink string. For this, I'm going to do a backward knot. These strings switch places, so my white string is going to be in the middle of my bracelet at the end of this row. Moving over to the right side, I'm going to do the same thing, just the opposite. I guess that doesn't really make any sense. Taking my 2 outermost strings, white and blue, I'm going to start with doing a backward knot. Next pair is going to be another backward. Picking up my next string, I'm going to do another backward knot. Next string, another backward knot. And then my last string, which is my pink, I'm going to do a forward knot. So at the end of it, my 2 whites are in the middle, and with these, just go ahead and join them with whatever knot you prefer. I'm doing a forward. That was our 7th row. Now moving on to our 8th row. I'm going to start with my outer 2 most strings, which is blue and then white. With this pair, I'm going to do a forward knot. Setting my white string off to the side, my blue string is leading. Picking up my next string, I'm going to do another forward knot. Yellow string goes off to the side, blue string is still leading. Picking up my next string, I am actually going to do a backward knot with this pair. White string goes off. Blue string is still leading, picking up my next string, which is my pink. This knot is going to be a backward forward knot. So my pink, it's going to go back and then it's going to come back up like so. Now the blue string goes off to this side, and then picking up my next string, because my pink is leading, I'm going to do a forward knot. Now my pink string is at the middle, so we're going to do again the same but the opposite on the other side. So taking my two outermost strings, which is blue and white, with this pair I'm going to start with a backward knot. White string goes off to the side, blue string is leading, picking up my next string, which is yellow. I'm going to do another backward knot. Yellow string goes off to the side, blue string is still leading, picking up my next string, which is white. I'm going to be doing a forward knot. White string goes off to the side, blue string is still leading, picking up my next string is pink. This is going to be a forward backward knot. So it's going to go forward and then come back. So then now my blue string gets to be put off to the side and my pink string is leading. Getting all muffled over here. And with this last string, which is my white, I'm going to be doing a backward knot. My two pink strings are in the middle, so to finish off this row, I'm going to go ahead and join these with whatever knot you prefer. That completes our 8th row, and that actually completes the full pattern for this particular bracelet. So from here, you can just go back to step 1 or row 1 and then just do the pattern all the way down again like normal. You will notice that your strings are going to be in different orders. So in the beginning, when we first started and did our first row, our first two colors were white and blue. But now we did some moving around in our bracelet, and now our yellow string is at the beginning. So basically, every time you do the full pattern, your strings are going to be alternating. So in the first full set of doing the entire pattern, our blue string was the dots color, but now in the second run, our yellow is actually going to be the dots color. So they kind of just alternate, so you don't really have to worry about your strings being in a different position, but you're just doing the same knots like normal. Your colors are just going to be in different positions. And if you remember, our row 1 was a normal chevron row, so from here you would just do the normal chevron row and then just keep going after that. And that is basically the pattern. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this tutorial was helpful for you and you make some really cute bracelets. If you do make this bracelet, definitely post it on Instagram and tag me so I can see it. I love seeing what you guys make. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them down below. Also, check out my FAQ in the description box. I do have an FAQ listed. If you have a question, it might be already answered down there, so definitely check that out. And yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys all next week. Bye.